Tonight, do Blizzard cinematics make your genitals swole? Is Jesus king of advertising? How many crystals in your butt is too many? And do you actually own anything, you heathen?
Hey, this is Russ, and I want to let you know that my Super Lupa did not win me an Xbox.
This is Andrew, and I'm living the dream. I just wish I knew whose.
This is Nick. Please stop drawing boob plate on female warriors.
And I'm Andy. Welcome back to the Balcony Time Podcast. So we had BlizzCon over the weekend, which means more games,
More controversy.
more cinematics, more news.
Mm-hmm.
Now the cinematics, like we just watched the WoW cinematic.
No controversy over Blizzard cinematics.
Zero.
They are awesome.
They are
Cinematics,
perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can make as many of those as they
Yeah.
want.
I don't care what they do politically as long as they keep pumping out cutscenes.
Honestly, I'm surprised they didn't have more controversy at BlizzCon because people were talking about like dressing all up in red and Winnie the Pooh costumes and all kinds of
They
stuff.
had protesters outside.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm surprised.
I'm sure a
that-
lot of that got played down
Sure,
through
but
the filter.
yeah, a lot of Blizzard is or a lot of BlizzCon is live streamed, like the entirety of it.
Did you actually watch it?
I watched quite a bit of it. Yeah.
Okay.
I had to watch the VODs.
What's that?
Video on demand.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
recorded and watched after the fact. But yeah, it was everybody was having a good time. It looked like.
Yeah, they just kind of did the standard fake apology and then ignore all the protesting. You know,
Yeah.
don't stop them, but just ignore them. It works.
We watched the apology from J. Allen Brack, and dude, that guy looks like he's aged like 10 years in the last year.
Who's
Like
that?
since last BlizzCon. He is now the Blizzard CEO.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's been putting out a lot of fires.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. And everybody hates their games, and so there's that whole thing. But going back to the cinematics,
Everyone hates their games?
right now. I mean, like,
I think everybody hates Blizzard. I don't think they hate their games.
well,
Right.
there's a lot of issues with current retail WoW.
People
Okay.
enjoy hating on their games.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's a little closer.
Even
to
though
home.
they're pretty great games.
Even though they
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, like, I mean, I'm not having much fun with WoW at the moment. It is what it is.
That's because you've played it for a decade plus.
It's the 15th year anniversary of WoW. I've been playing WoW for 15 years. It's the 25-year anniversary for Warcraft. So they had their Crystal and Silver.
I think
anniversaries this year.
the fact that you're still playing the game 15 years after its release is a testament to how decent it is, at least.
Well, I'm not right now.
Okay.
Like I was playing Classic when it came out, but that
Right.
lasted all of 2 weeks.
Okay. What happened with Classic? What's the general feel after that? Are people still on it, or are people still hyped
yeah,
about
it's
it?
still huge. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like usually in the top 3 viewership on Twitch right now, which is a pretty good barometer of,
Its popularity.
yeah. So, yeah, it's still Classic is a massively popular game, and people are still very invested. And Phase 1.5 came out. They released Dire Maul content, and Phase 2 is like in 2 weeks or something like that.
When you say phases, are they like re-releasing the patches that
Yeah.
originally came out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Interesting.
so next month or 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is, we're gonna have like Battlegrounds and the honor system comes out, and that's when shit's gonna get real. Yeah, that's gonna. I mean, just in the Twitch community alone, most of the people are all like rank 1 arena players that are known for their PvP prowess and stuff like that. So they've
So they're all at like the starting blocks right now, ready to go.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, right now is a grind to get like perfect best in slot, equipment and stuff. So, they
So
can
everybody's
jump into
getting ready.
Battlegrounds all yeah.
All right. That's kind of cool.
It's kind of neat watching the race.
Are you going to hop
happen.
back on for that or what? Or are you not prepared for that?
I really want to play Alterac Valley again, in all of its original glory.
9-hour games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but well, the thing
Or are
is,
those
I
like
don't think
raids? 9-hour raids?
No, it's a
Or what?
PvP match that takes multiple
yeah,
hours.
Shit.
40 on 40.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. That's
so
cool.
You used to, so you queue for it, like it fills up the 40 player roster on either side, and then you jump in, right? These games used to last multiple days.
Shit.
Because people would just push back and forth and back and forth, and you couldn't.
Yeah.
get
And so what are
edge
you
on
doing,
it.
like shifts? Like, because people got to log off during that
Yeah,
time,
so
right?
you log off, but then it's going to automatically queue the next player in line.
It
that's
wasn't
been waiting to get
uncommon
in.
to
Okay.
log off one night, get back on the next afternoon, and the same game
Happened
still
all the
going.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, you see a few of the guys that have lasted throughout the night, and they're still holding. They're like, "Yeah, man, we got a graveyard, to overnight."
That's fun.
Yeah, so I look forward to that. I don't think it's going to play out like that. I don't.
Yeah.
People have too much more experience when it comes to World of Warcraft and exploiting mechanics and
Sure.
things like that. But It will be
Well,
longer.
yeah, the
for
game's
sure.
already solved, right?
Yeah,
So
pretty much. So I still think it'll be longer than the current Alterac Valley, because Alterac Valley now, as it exists today, is one of the shortest battlegrounds you can get because there's no timer on its finish. Usually it's like head straight to the end, kill the final boss. Whoever makes it there first wins. There isn't a whole lot of PvP in Alterac Valley anymore. Yeah.
So, as the resident WoW expert, what's the context of that trailer we just watched? Because it was pretty badass looking.
The developers watched Stranger Things and said, let's put an upside down into the game.
Shadowlands has been talked about for a long time now. Like, you may look back at like Cataclysm when they released the WoW Compendium as new content, but you also have to remember, WoW Cataclysm is 10 fucking years old. It's half the age of Warcraft in itself. So the Shadowlands have been a part of the game for a long time now.
Break it down for the ignorant. There were two characters in that scene.
So
who was I looking at?
The characters were Sylvanas Windrunner and Bolvar Fordragon.
As the Lich King.
As the Lich King.
So that was something he became over
Yes.
time? Okay.
So back in Wrath of the Lich King 2008-2009, as a player, the end game for that expansion was killing the Lich King, who was Arthas Menethil.
You had to climb the multi-levels, multi-bosses of Icecrown Citadel, which they opened gradually until all the wings were open and you could finally fight. If you could make it, the Lich King was available. And then that culminates when your guild or your group of players defeat the Lich King.
Okay.
Yep. And the Lich King, as you saw him in the trailer, was the new Lich King, Bolvar Fordragon.
You have to have someone there with the power of the Lich King to control the undead.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the undead just go crazy.
Berserk.
Yeah, there's no one to
Tag
control.
everything.
So
There's
he's
no
a
king
good
in-
guy that took that mantle upon himself.
To keep
After-
everything at bay or whatever?
Yeah, so it's like it's in order to keep the
Okay.
balance between the dead and the living.
And so what over time he got corrupted by that power?
Well, it's inevitable
Yeah.
that that'll happen.
Gotcha.
In the scene, I don't think he was. I mean, he wasn't like fighting Azeroth. He was just chilling in Northrend. Just keeping him in check.
So the kind of lore between Bolvar Fordragon is he's half dead. You saw he was like mangled in what looked like ashen.
He had like
and-
the Darth Vader syndrome going
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
So he had that because earlier in the expansion of Wrath of the Lich King.
You like that, Nick?
I was just picturing a burned victim in a hospital being like, what happened to you? Oh, I've got Darth Vader
got
syndrome.
Darth Vader syndrome.
They're bringing my voice box tomorrow.
So Bolvar Fordragon was at the Wrathgate, which is a highly controversial thing in WoW history, right? Where the like primordial dragon Alexstrasza, the Lifebinder, the keeper of all life on Azeroth.
She who resets the clocks.
No, that's
That's
She
that's
who cooks
Nosdormu.
the chicken.
Cooks the Fordragon. So Bolvar Fordragon got burnt in the fires of this like super legendary dragon, right?
Okay.
And she was just trying to keep the balance between the unliving and dead and the Horde and Alliance. So that's why he's all fiery. That fire is eternal, so he's constantly burning alive.
Bummer.
So constantly in
Good thing he lives in the snow.
He's got
Right.
he's got a shitty card in Hearthstone too. You feel doubly bad for him. He's a bad legendary card.
So he the way the lore kind of goes is he's half in, half out. The guy's almost dead, right? So he actually has a connection to the world
Underworld.
of the world of the dead, which means that he is not as easily corrupted by the power of the Lich King.
So then why is this bitch busting the piece?
So she a couple
Sylvanas.
expansions ago.
Oh, you said that with like she's a bitch.
She's a piece
tone.
of fucking work.
Yeah.
She looks cool.
So initially, she has a problem with the Lich King because the Lich King was the person that killed her. She died in
She's a
Warcraft.
So she's a
3.
dark elf.
She's an
Right.
undead, like, banshee dark elf.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Banshee
she's
Queen.
known as a Banshee Queen.
All right, but
Yeah.
she is resurrected.
She was resurrected.
Okay.
Yes. She's not undead in the way that the Forsaken are, but she is the lead of the Forsaken. She rules Undercity. She in the last couple expansions has been crowned the war chief of the Horde, and she has just been.
So she's not a good person.
She was initially. I mean,
Okay.
it seemed right, but really she's been fueled by this vendetta against the Lich King and everybody that doesn't see the path that she wants to take everybody down, which you find out is actually killing everybody and raising them in undeath because she thinks that's the perfect form of being. They are non-corrupt. They can't be corrupted by other outside forces like some of the things that are attacking Azeroth at the moment. The old gods, they can't be, fucked with by old god corruption. And you can't really sway the undead. They are what they are. They're uncorruptible, right? So basically purity. So that's what she's been slowly that's unfolding, that knowledge, that's where we're headed with her. And people are starting to fight back.
Meanwhile, this current Lich King guy is just trying to keep the peace.
Yeah, pretty much. Kind of a benevolent force now. He
Right.
used to be a relatively evil force that kept the balance as much as it benefited him. But Bolvar Fordragon, the newer one, he's kind of a benevolent force. It's been working for the side of neutrality. So over time, Sylvanas has been running the Horde, and the entire Horde Alliance conflict, she's been trying to kill all the Alliance because eventually she'll be able to raise them an undead. She's been trying to kill off members of the Horde by pushing them into conflict with the Alliance to raise them as undead. And all this is just kind of unfolding, and everybody is now deeply against Sylvanas. So in the last cinematic before that one was published, she had been essentially exiled, and now she's super pissed and just wants to kill everything.
Yeah, because watching that trailer, I feel like, and after hearing that explanation, I feel like I thought the wrong guy was the bad guy.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
That's kind of the power of that scene, really, is the
Yeah.
fact that this iconic villain that you're used to is now in a position trying to defend against someone that is substantially worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
And her power has recently become unrivaled because
Bad
while
writing.
while she's been the leader of the Horde, she's been leading like the charge in becoming the actual Banshee Queen. So she has an artifact now that allows her to control a race known as the Valkyr. They're essentially Reapers.
Okay.
They take souls to the Shadowlands where they're then judged, and they get to go to their rightful place, whether that's in torment or some kind of heaven. You know, the Shadowlands is basically that. So it's where you're to be judged. There's good and evil sides of the Shadowlands, but it's essentially just another universe inside this, or another part
South
of
the
universe.
wall.
Yeah. So that's what we saw happen. Is she broke the boundaries of the Shadowlands and Azeroth.
Okay.
Yeah, by destroying the.
So is there
remnants of
no
Lich King.
longer any Lich King? Because
There's
that
no
crown
longer
is
Lich
gone?
King. Yeah.
So the undead are just going crazy now.
Yeah, the undead are totally left unchecked.
So how is she going to control all these undead?
Well, she has control over the undead.
Okay.
Yeah, because she's been
Just by virtue of being the leader.
effectively.
Okay.
Yeah, she has less strict control.
So then what's the difference between her power and the Lich King's power?
Mostly in the matter of control. The Lich King, it doesn't take any work for him to control the undead.
It's just direct.
It
Okay.
is, yeah. Whereas hers is more implied and by force.
I wonder why she didn't just put the helmet on then.
Because it's cursed.
Subverting expectations.
Okay.
Well, and it's cursed. She doesn't want to be the Lich King. She doesn't want to be a pawn
It's
for
cursed.
the
It sounds
It's-
like she wants to be the Lich King.
It's possessed by the ghost.
Ner'zhul.
So she just wants her cake and to eat it too. She wants to be the Lich King without the fucking repercussions. of the Lich
She
King.
she wants to kill everybody. Her agenda is still the same. She wants to raise everybody in undeath.
presumably to have control over them. That's what it sounds
Well, yeah,
like.
yeah.
She
Okay.
doesn't want to have to try to deal with fighting off Ner'zhul all the time.
And so that's who like actually gives the power to the
Yes.
Lich King through the crown.
Yes.
Well, Ner'zhul
Okay.
was actually Ner'zhul may have crafted the armor, but he was empowered by a leader of the Scourge that I can't remember the name of.
It's cool lore. I wish I liked the game more.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes deep. Not all of Blizzard's writing is great. Some of it's really camp and really cheesy. They're really good
They
at
really
writing.
bring it together in those cutscenes, though.
They do,
Fuck.
but like Russ and I have talked about this, and like while I love visually Blizzard cinematics, and I really still wish they would make movies, full length features. They're writers, man. Like they'd have to hire other writers for sure, because that dialogue is always
a lot of the times it's corny.
Yeah.
I think I told you guys a couple weeks ago I was playing StarCraft a little bit, and yeah, some of the dialogue in those fucking
Super
scenes
corny.
is so cheesy.
Yeah,
I don't know. That sort of makes it what it is, though.
yeah, sure. I mean, it's Blizzard's thing, right?
Typically, when they do something right, as Andy pointed out, it's because that they're not saying much, and what
Yeah.
they are saying are very like catchy one-liners.
Yeah.
So, but I honestly I think they could hire some decent storyline or dialogue
Totally.
writers,
Yeah.
and anything from Overwatch, Diablo, or WoW would make a fantastic ongoing series because their CG is fucking on point.
It's the best.
Are you excited for Overwatch 2?
I
I always feel like
have middling feelings about it.
games like those don't need a sequel. That's always my feeling with
Not really a
those.
sequel though,
Right, exactly. It's just like what, an expansion pack,
They're
basically.
essentially just slowly going to convert the game over to the game that it is now, plus PvE stuff. Like Overwatch 2, as far as I'm aware, it's going to add a PvE element, so it can be you and the team versus NPCs. And then as they continue to add multiplayer updates, both Overwatch 1 and 2 will get those. You can play concurrently Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 like together, and eventually they're going to phase Overwatch 1 out. So to me, they're releasing Overwatch 1.2 at full price point, and then eventually you'll just have to get Overwatch 2.
Yeah, it's sort of what it
how
seemed
Adam
like to
explained
me.
it to me.
I mean,
I hadn't heard anything about being able to play them both simultaneously.
I don't know if I could be wrong on that. I know that they're supposed to be giving whatever like multiplayer updates, patches, buffs they're giving are going to be applied to both games together at the same time. So there won't be any difference in the multiplayer between the two games. That's what Adam was telling me. So
It's unusual.
It is.
I did find out that cosmetics and stuff will transfer over.
They did.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's good. At least what you've been earning for the last like 3 years isn't going to be.
I imagine they might have already done this, but they have to remake all of them.
Yeah,
So
because
they've got a
they
whole
changed
new
the
engine.
artwork.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is the case. I was slightly on the assumption that they've just created a new or updated engine for it, and they're trying to essentially just port everything over to that. Hence the release of a second "quote unquote" Overwatch.
It could be. I didn't look enough into it to determine what their thinking was by releasing an Overwatch 2. I'm sure they had to explain themselves.
Yeah.
I only saw that funny clip online of like, oh, you've been wondering what things we're going to have Overwatch 2 on, and they list everything. Switch, Xbox, PC, and somebody's like, I got a phone.
The Diablo Immortals joke.
At the end of the day,
That Diablo trailer was cool, though.
yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Now that's
not a
Diablo
thing.
4,
Yeah.
not Diablo Immortal.
Yes, yeah. Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. That trailer is awesome.
So cool.
Really good.
You going to play it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I've played
I
every
think I'll pick it
Diablo.
up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can't reasonably boycott everything that you're against without doing a lot of research, because it turns out like 99% of products have shady
Yeah.
developers. But you got to draw a line somewhere. And personally, with everything, the Blizzard and the China stuff, and finding out that something only like 5% of their net profits are the Chinese market.
That's it? I thought it was like a lot, and that's why they cared
I
so
think
much
it's
about the opinion.
12% is Asia in total.
Oh, wow.
And I don't remember if that was gross or net, but China itself, something like 5%. It was $370 million yearly, which
That's
out of context is a lot of money.
Sure,
Compared to their
yeah.
total revenue, it's not.
Yeah.
And I don't need to give them my money. I'd love to
No,
play Diablo
sure,
4.
yeah.
It looks great. I'm sure when it comes out in 2-3 years, it's probably going to be better than Diablo 3 was. But
It looks like they're putting some neat changes in. Like it is supposed to be more of an MMO format and totally open world.
It looked pretty similar,
they,
just with like
did.
updated graphics and smoother moves, you know?
Yeah.
Like everything just
One thing I
looked
really
smoother.
appreciate is their whole art team looked into Baroque and Renaissance art for their
Nice.
inspiration, which is just what we wanted.
It totally
yeah.
has that feel. I mean, all the Diablos have had that really creepy feel to them, which is
Well,
perfect.
the third one arguably didn't.
I didn't play the third one, for what it's worth. I didn't even see
It's
much
a
of the
good
third
game
one.
now.
Yeah.
It took
Did
a
they
long
have to
time.
like patch it to hell?
And they added an expansion that helped out a lot.
I liked playing it for the story, but I didn't find any replay value in Diablo 3 initially.
The story in Diablo 3 was just, I mean, if you like it, but it was just World of Warcraft story.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. Yeah. But I enjoyed the gameplay. I mean, the gameplay is always fun. It wasn't deep by any means.
The thing I like about Diablo gameplay specifically is I don't have to think too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to think at all. When I mean, it's literally spamming buttons.
Yeah.
And either you die or you don't.
Yep.
Yeah.
The thing about Diablo 2 especially was that it was easy to play and hard to master.
Yeah.
Like up until that last 10%, anybody, you could just button mash. But especially like in Diablo 3, you want to get into the greater rifts and do that progression. There was work required.
Oh, sure.
And knowledge.
For sure.
And it takes a long time to get to that point, but
Well, it's like WoW and their Mythic Plus. WoW is not a game with any depth anymore.
yeah,
I mean,
it's not difficult.
well, and whatever depth is there, there's an explanation for it on the internet, right?
Sure.
Where the resources are vast. So you always know what build to take for whatever content you want to do because it's published on the internet. This is going to be your top tier DPS build, right? But where the game changes is something like Mythic Plus or PvP. In Mythic Plus, you have to have a deep understanding of the game's mechanics, the party that you're going in with, their abilities, and timing especially is big.
Yeah, the biggest thing with the difficulty there, and this is a tried and true way to make a game difficult, is you have to rely on other people doing their shit correctly. And the more people there are you're relying on, the more likely it is going to be difficult because they screw it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been having this dynamic with video games lately where, like, for me, part of like a deep strategy game or something like that is figuring out the mechanics in the game. And because I'm usually late to the party on video games, it's really easy to find resources for video games. And so I'm always struggling between, like, how much do I want to delve into, like, learning to play this game versus just, like, through, like, other people playing the game, or learning how to play the game through just experimentation.
Give a game a playthrough, and then I'll just start diving into the meta.
Do you?
That's the way I do it too.
Yeah. So one playthrough on your own, and then you start seeing what's going on.
I kind of will often, if it's a game I plan on playing for any length of time, will try to find a video on beginner no-nos or things you should know before you play this game. Like, here's the things you want to avoid doing or not doing in your initial playthroughs, just so I'm not starting off on a terribly bad foot. Because I already have a bad habit of restarting games repeatedly. And
terribly,
usually by the third restart, I've lost all interest in playing the game. So I want to make sure I get it at least partially right in the first go around. And then if I hit some kind
Something
of
to
a wall,
commit to.
I'll look into the minutia. But, yeah.
I always find that the more I get into the inner workings of the game and trying to understand them outside of the game, the less encouraged I am to continue playing. So I try really hard not to do that.
I love the minutia. I want to know how it works.
I do too.
I do
sometimes.
too. I like knowing, like, the formulas for how resources are calculated and shit like that. I like really deep diving.
If it's
I
a
like
game that I'm
winning.
gonna get totally.
I like to win. They're
For like
competitive games.
For competitive games like that, I mean, at the end of the day, if it's like a shooter or something, I just want
then use all your
can
tools.
Put a competitive spin on any game you play.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I want to be able to try to maximize my efficiency in what I'm doing. Typically on the second playthrough, it's like, let's see what we can do with this. And you have to have a substantially more in-depth knowledge of how mechanics work in the game.
You just got to know how things are being affected. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about reading guide. Like, there's games where I'll read, like, build this character. Like when Borderlands 2, like, I'll go look now to see, like, what are some optimal operative builds.
Sure.
But you do that because there's a slew of opportunities, and I'm not going to be the one that's sitting there crunching numbers.
So you're
I'm not
using that
gonna-
as like a baseline almost?
People just have more time on their hands.
Sure.
So they sit there and like, well, I've done 50 runs through the slaughter shaft.
I've
and this
compared
is the,
these numbers.
Yeah, like they'll
Okay.
start and like, I don't have time for that. But I want to know that information. I want them
Sure.
to tell me like, okay, well, this gun does this much damage. This build has this much survivability.
So you view
Then
them as
there's-
your trial runs, basically.
I'm saying there's games that'll do that I'll get very specific information for because they've done the number crunching, and then there's other times where it just behooves me to have a deeper knowledge of the base mechanics because I'm going to go in, do my own thing, but knowing how the systems play with each other. And that'd be games like Stellaris and
Where you're actually going in and doing the trial and error and seeing how it affects things for yourself.
No, I would read information about
okay.
the base mechanics, not like this is how to build this Civ. It would be a little more generalized, and then I'd
Okay.
go in and play with that sandbox. But you're doing it substantially more knowledgeable than I could have been because I don't have time to grind my head against that wall, playing 100 times and realizing
Reading
this,
every menu.
yeah, this is a dead end here. This was less efficient here. Like, I mean, my first playthrough on Stellaris, I set up a sector, and I didn't even know what I had done.
Right.
You know, and Nick was telling me like that system was broke. I would have never known that system was broke until either they fixed it or I read somewhere that it wasn't even working.
Right. Yeah. It's in the game. You expect it to work.
Yeah. So,
You'd figure it out when you pass like 10 in-game years and you look at the sector and all of its resources are in the negative. And you're like, I
What
left
just
you
happened?
with like a perfectly working planet and
Everything
you
was
just destroyed it. Yeah.
the food's on the ground.
Yeah.
What is oil?
Why did you put farms on the lava planet? It seems obvious not to do that. For me, a lot of it is when you get in there in the weeds and you start tinkering, and I learn enough that I can then input all my choices and get the what's the word I'm looking for? The
Reconnoiter.
wanted outcome and have it work. That's a win for me.
It's very
So
satisfying.
the wins for me are they're granular little modules where it's like, okay, I want to try to master this system. And if I can input everything correctly and it comes out the way I wanted it, then I feel satisfied.
yeah.
But before you could find all that information on the internet, I got so much satisfaction, like in the WoW days of like Wrath of the Lich King when we were raiding pretty seriously, building Excel spreadsheets, figuring out my optimum DPS rotation, and that stuff was so much fun for me.
We didn't do that for Wrath. That stuff was pre-made.
I totally did that for Wrath.
Before,
absolutely
you have
did.
to go before Wrath, before those things just existed. We were all three of us
It wasn't in
punching our numbers in to the freaking DPS spreadsheets
Yeah.
and playing around with item settings and stuff like that.
But that's
to
what I'm
see.
talking about. But so before they had the published, like the modules for Excel, I was already doing Lich King content. That didn't happen until after the what do they call it? The item level calculator came out, where you could just plug in this new item and have your DPS just based on your stats
I remember having a DPS mod in Wrath.
to calculate your DPS, right?
So
or to watch your
need
DPS.
to use Excel because you just go to the test.
Well, yeah,
domain.
because
Use
you're watching
Excel
it,
to
yeah.
change gear and like,
Right,
gen
without having to
modifiers
See what
and
it
stuff
looks like
that.
Yeah.
theoretically.
I never did
But
that.
but before those modules came out, I was getting the gear, so it was like, okay, well, I just won this trinket. It gives me the same stats, but has a different proc than this one. So actually going in and like plugging that information into Excel, I'm not very good at Excel, so I realized that wasn't like my forte. But actually, like working on a testing, like on a training dummy for like 30 minutes and getting a good average damage difference between items, I used to do that shit all day. I did that more than I played the game, probably.
Last time I used Excel for a game was for Dwarf Fortress, trying to maximize pathfinding.
That game is so fucking weird. I'm just waiting for it to come out on Steam because
Yeah,
I can't handle the ASCII graphics.
Yeah.
you can play it with graphics now.
I know, but
Graphics.
yeah, exactly,
Are they-
exactly.
It'll look like a Super Nintendo game.
Which I'm
Yeah.
okay with. I love that aesthetic.
Yeah, it's like 16-bit
Honestly.
or 8-bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not bad. I was picturing something much substantially worse.
Well, in the early days of Dwarf Fortress, yeah.
Dude, the
Totally.
ASCII shit is so confusing.
Yeah.
You play long enough, you don't see it anymore. It's like the
Right.
Matrix.
I
Yeah.
imagine, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't take
Speaking
long.
of horrendously god awful looking things, did you guys see Kanye West's merchandise?
Oh yeah,
The
I watched
hoodie?
the donkey video.
No, like all of his clothing.
No, I've only caught like weird shit that I don't know what's going on. But for contextual clues, I'm assuming he dropped some album.
Yes,
It's some Christian
Jesus
album.
is king.
He's
Yeah, that's
becoming
what
a
it's
cult
called.
leader.
And he's like, I'm assuming that it's like some born again themed album. And now he's throwing Jesus on all his hoodies.
Just go to his merch page.
Yeah.
They're all there.
So I first saw it on the
Is that
Donkey
KanyeWest.com?
video. Like Donkey was
Search
making
Kanye
fun
West merch.
of Kanye West's merch in
put
this
in-
recent video.
Who is that? Just some commentator?
He's just a YouTube person.
He's
Right.
got a merch page.
Right.
He's
So
funny. He does stuff.
I
with
just
video
googled
games.
Kanye West merch page.
And it was so outlandish, and I didn't have a point of reference. I immediately go and look up, like, is this for real? What is he
Yeah.
talking about? Because I want
Right.
context for his jokes, and I found the actual merch page, and it is so. There's no other words to say.
This
than
is
it's-
Kanye West.
Yeah.
Why does he have a website that looks like shit?
Wait until you keep scrolling. Some of his circle shirts.
So I mean, I think we have to acknowledge that, like, you can't do this stuff unintentionally, right? So I feel like
What
this-
do you mean by
Dude,
that?
I think Kanye West got in that accident, fucked up his brain, and I think he's got issues. I think
he
he's-
didn't build this website though.
yeah, but I'm sure he gets some fucking
Bug.
say in it, right?
Sure.
Like, oh, this website looks like garbage, and change it.
I'm sure he probably didn't say, like, no, I want to have nothing but a light blue background and really shitty clip
Knowing
art version of
Kanye,
all
this
the
is probably
clothes.
exactly what he wanted. Because he's like a quintessential narcissist is trying to become a cult leader.
Right,
Look
like,
at
I don't-
that shirt.
I don't really know him too much, but or know about him too much, but from what I've read about him, he's definitely got some sort of god complex, right?
Oh,
100%.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
So yeah, this could be just like this dude thinks it's fucking great.
yeah.
and that's it.
But
I think
but
I think the
he
dude's got
didn't-
significant brain
He
damage.
didn't build the website, so he. Had,
But this is his website, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has a company, and he goes like, "Hey, I need a website to host my merch for." So you'd go to the company that builds the websites. They're not going to build this website. Nobody would build this website because it's just so glaringly.
I mean,
bad.
it's a 13-year-old's HTML
At the end of the day,
project.
I would be surprised if Kanye didn't have final say over what his merch page looked like. I would be under the assumption that he signed off on this.
The follow-up, my main point that I'm getting to is that they built this website in full knowledge of how bad it is, because it's another example of how stupid the average fucking person is out in the world, that they will still purchase this really god-awful, badly pictured, overpriced product on this hot trash fucking garbage fire of a website because we're fucking sheeple.
No,
These are the same people that bought an $120 white T-shirt from Kanye.
Yeah.
It was just a plain white generic T-shirt, and he sold out. He sold out of them for $120
a piece.
a piece.
A piece. The more I think about it, the more I think this is genius.
No, it's not. What
So-
it is, honestly, is it's really sad.
Well,
It's a
think
cult
so.
of
So
personalities.
so remove yourself from everything, right? That we've been talking about.
Impossible.
Like you're just learning that this merch exists.
I am just learning that this merch exists.
Okay.
Pretty much.
So now imagine that you're trying to grab the people that are absorbed in meme culture, which is just exploding, right? Even
In what culture? Oh,
Meme.
meme. Yeah.
Even grandma is starting to understand what memes are. And then the fact that, like, to leverage this new meme, everybody's talking about it, right? Like, we are not the only podcast that's talked. Like, every podcast that I listen to has talked about this.
I don't think Kanye's working the meme angle. I think
I think he might
I think
be.
the company that he hired.
Well, sure,
is-
yeah. The
Perhaps.
advertising company could be, yeah,
his followers listen to him for his
for sure. He's got a
music
massive
and
following,
his social
and hugely
posts
cult,
and
right?
his opinions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that fully, but to make money on the merch, I mean, like, what is this garbage?
But the
right?
commentary that you're making only succeeds. Like if you're trying to make a commentary on like how, this stuff spreads and how ridiculous it is, or anything like that. Like
Is
any
if you
sort
don't
of poignant
profit
point.
from it.
It's don't fucking buy
You
the
turn around
merch.
and give it to charity or something,
See,
right? Or whatever.
What I'm thinking though is, like, as I'm scrolling through this page, me myself just a couple of seconds ago was thinking, I want to buy this while it's still available.
Why? What is
Dude,
wrong
yeah.
with your brain?
Because I'm in on the meme. I have the meme T-shirt.
You know what?
That is a
There's
a
no
conversation piece.
meme here. The only thing that's happening right here is some dude laughing maniacally as he counts up the money from
yeah,
idiots.
that's 100%.
That's all that's happening.
I
There's
don't
no meme here.
I don't think it's that malicious.
I do.
It's 100%.
I think it's 100% that malicious.
They
I
know
think
exactly
they
what
could
they
have
can get away
put
with.
anything on these T-shirts and charged the same amount of money, and they'd make the same amount of money because people just buy it.
Or they made them look this fucking ridiculous because they knew that it would get the attention that they want.
That's
Yeah, I
100%
wouldn't be-
true, but
I
that only
wouldn't be
works if people
surprised,
buy
yeah.
the shit. Don't buy the shit.
But people are going to buy the shit.
That's
the
exactly the
problem.
problem. That's what's so sad about it.
I don't
It's
I don't
just-
even know what no, I'm not saying that it isn't sad. I think it's fucking stupid, but also, like, my temptation was like, this would get people talking. Like, if I owned this shirt, it would be a conversation piece. And I'm thinking of that as a
So
person
is
that's
a
trying to
sword.
grow a podcast.
I mean, at the end of the day, some of this art, like this I Jesus King, like the religion part removed, just the graphics of it, I don't think it's that bad. It's very kitschy and kind of.
I could see like a
Obviously
little
bad
church doing
looking.
this on their t-shirt.
There is another one.
Scroll
the
down
the
a half an
stretch
inch.
stuff I don't really like.
How much are those?
They don't show their prices.
They
It
showed
says
them.
enter email.
Well, they showed
Oh,
them
they
earlier.
did, yeah.
Yeah,
They
they
were
were like $120, $60.
Oh, up
$80.
there, yeah, we got 170 for the hoodie.
Yeah, and it's just
It's a black hoodie.
with
Yeah.
4 things of words on it. Yeah.
No, I
It just I just
think it's
worry
stupid,
about
personally.
these cults of
It is stupid.
personality.
think it's just fucking stupid.
yeah, it is stupid.
You're just throwing away the money that you've been a wage slave for to somebody that has gratuitous amounts of money, and they're just making more because you'll buy the dumb shit that they think that because they're popular
And I don't view this as any different than evangelical exploitation.
I don't see
mean,
this
it's
as
the
any
same
different than
fucking thing.
It's just
commercialization.
exploitation.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any different than just standard commercialization. It's a slightly different
this
tactic,
is
but
exploitation. There's no reason to charge $170 for a hoodie.
there's no reason to have 1,000% markup on most products.
There's
the argument.
I don't see any argument for why this hoodie should be $170 other than
No.
false scarcity and
Yes.
to make money.
Mhm.
That hoodie does not cost nearly that much money.
Well, and
to make.
specifically, you're exploiting the way people feel about religion, like straight
Sure.
up in this shit.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
religious
this is a
element's a
fucking
whole other
scam.
thing.
This is a fucking
Yeah.
scam.
I'm-
This is an
I'm-
evangelical scam.
I take no umbrage with the religious aspect of the material.
I don't understand
It just
why
we've been
it's
exploiting
not-
that.
I guess
forever.
it's
Yeah.
just the only umbrage I take is just like it's such a. It seems to me to be such a blatant exploitation of it,
his whole album is.
and I haven't heard it, but that's
I
kind of
mean-
what I gather. Yeah.
That's what I would.
Or does Kanye West turn into like that religious of a man?
No, the guy's insane.
I agree.
Who cares about the ravings of a madman?
Yeah,
Plenty of people,
a lot of people do.
sadly.
A lot of people do.
But yeah, no, this is just fucking
I mean,
bizarre
at the end of the day,
to
I
me.
think. What
Have
you're
you listened to
saying-
the album?
No.
Okay.
I don't listen to Kanye
Yeah, I
West.
don't like Kanye West.
On the one hand, I can see what you're saying. From an advertising capitalist point of view, it's a genius marketing campaign.
Yeah.
Nobody will deny that.
That's all
it's
I'm
literally
saying.
like it's so outlandish and whatnot that everyone is talking about it.
Yeah.
But it's a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Everyone stopped talking about the $120 white T-shirt and stuff until they'd done this, and everyone had to be reminded of how
sure.
stupid consumers
Oh, yeah.
are. And I just feel like your money can go to better things than supporting this guy who's just. They're literally what they're saying to you is like.
Fuck, send us $170.
Yeah, I'll take $170.
I feel like statements like this are just telling you like this is how dumb you are
Mm-hmm.
as a consumer. That's all it's saying. If you buy it, you're confirming for them how dumb you are as a consumer.
Yeah,
This
I
is
don't
bottom
disagree.
of the barrel stuff. It's not high quality.
Yeah.
It's not well made.
I thought you were trying to make a counterpoint to what I was saying, not like a side point.
No, I think there's an aspect of both points. One of it is that yes, it's genius
Yeah.
marketing. We shouldn't be buying.
Oh yeah,
into this.
I recognize both.
You also said you saw that T-shirt and you want to own it. Like
Yeah, well, no, I don't actually want to own it, but I almost immediately understood like
I don't think it's genius advertising. I think it's just a fucking testament to how shitty
I think
our impulses can be.
It doesn't require a
Like-
genius to think up an idea to make this much money. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like,
Like,
it's
this is a
just
pretty obvious tactic.
it's just a fucking again, that word exploitation. It's an exploitation of our current tendencies in our culture. It's
Yeah.
not genius advertising. It's just going, oh shit.
it's genius
the
advertising
idiots
if
will
it
do
makes a fuckload more money than it should based on the quality of the product.
That's
Lots
not
of
what
stupid
defines
ideas
genius,
make a lot of
yeah.
money. That doesn't make them genius.
Yeah.
in advertising, it does. This is
Yeah.
the definition of if you, the way you market a product results.
Well, we
in
would have
high
to define what
sales.
you mean by genius.
I guess so. Yeah.
If genius just means you make a lot of money,
Is it
then
profitable?
That's not how I'm
Then-
using the
Yeah.
word
yeah,
genius.
that's not how I'm using it either.
You
I
have
mean-
genius would be from the eye of like the shareholder. Like, oh god, that really dumb cheap idea you just had just made us millions of dollars.
Or
But
from
it's
the
not a
idea of the
new
marketing
idea.
agency.
This is a often done thing. Make a shitty product, charge a lot of money to make it seem like there's a false importance to it. It's
Yeah.
done a million times over. All
for
the
things
time.
like Gucci,
This
who
isn't
makes
new.
a relatively decent product. This is literally like a Hanes T-shirt with really shitty graphics on it, though.
Yeah, I don't feel like this marketing campaign is happening all over the place all the time.
I
the
don't think
white
so either.
T-shirt for $120. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
the same.
his.
That's principally the same thing.
It's
So-
the same person though, so they're using that same genius advertising campaign.
Kanye isn't the only person that charges ridiculous prices for shitty things and makes a lot of money off of them.
I would argue
There's false scarcity all over the place. Beats headphones by Dre.
But
It's not
Yeah.
genius
They put out
that
a-
they're shitty headphones, but his name's on them, so they make a shit ton of money.
But they put out a product that isn't like
it's not
almost
this
purposely
level.
garbage.
I think
those are
more than
still-
anything,
those are still like mid-tier headphones.
Yeah,
and they're priced like super high tier.
they're
headphones.
they're priced premium. Yeah,
You
because they
put a
have a name
fancy
on it, yeah.
name on something, Mary Kay, fucking
But yeah.
Lululemon.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sponsorships from a celebrity is very common, but none of them release this level of garbage, and they're not offered on in addition like a garbage website.
I guess
Yeah.
Like it's
The website aside, I don't think this is a unique thing. I think this has been done often, and it's
Yeah.
been done a lot before.
I mean, it's the fucking. It's
and
the,
sure, it'll make a lot of money, and that's great. But to me, genius is something I've thought up something unique and new that someone
still
else hasn't
works.
thought up before.
The
that worked
genius isn't
amazingly
necessarily in the particulars of the bad product on the website. If you want to look at it, it's the fact that they've made Kanye West into such an icon that he can do stuff at this level, which is an entirely new level. Like, it'd be like if you bought Beats by Dre, but the headphones didn't work. That's comparable to a $120 blank white
I mean, that
t-shirt.
hoodie's going to keep you warm. It works.
I'm using a metaphor, as in, like, there's a fundamental flaw in the item. There's nothing
There's nothing
going
there's nothing inherent about the product that's driving up the value.
I mean, if we think about the blank white t-shirt
I think that's what he's
campaign,
getting at.
There's
If we had a blank black hoodie and it kept you warm, and you throw Jesus is King on it, and now you charge $170, to me, that's no different than having a medium weight headphone, putting Beats by Dre on it, and charging more money. They both do a thing. This is a hoodie that keeps you warm,
I feel
but
like
one has product placement on it, and now it's super expensive.
But nobody's buying that hoodie for its function. People are
Yeah,
buying
that's
that
the
hoodie
thing.
for its content.
Nobody buys Beats by Dre for function.
As we're talking
yes,
about
they,
it,
yes, they
Oh,
absolutely
they
do.
think they
but
do.
then they don't know any
There's
better.
but there's a huge common misconception that Beats are the premium headphones.
As
Like they are the best headphones.
as we're talking about this and like thinking about it, I think what really bothers me the most about it is it's another real solid example of where I think our culture is shitty, in the fact that our expectations of what we want to buy and how we engage in the marketplace is so low that people can take advantage of it
Yeah.
in such a shitty way
Yeah.
with such minimal effort
Yeah.
Yes.
and profit off the backs of people who are just
I think a better but not perfect parallel, I think we talked about this before, was Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow's store.
Yeah.
She sells completely useless items for a
Right.
shit ton of money. And I think
Crystals
that's
you
a
put up your
similar
vagina
idea.
that costs $180 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what?
Yeah.
Were you there? Or
What
you weren't here.
What words did you just say?
Go to Goop. So Gwyneth Paltrow started a storefront to sell holistic, safe for salmon bullshit. And it's called Goop because
remember how
she
it's spelled.
realized that some big companies had two O's in their name. So she has
not.
G for Gwyneth, two O's. P,
I just
Paltrow.
my brain malfunctioned and I'm like, Q is the word?
Yeah. And
Just
just Google Goop. I'm sure it'll be the
what
first
the, what
result.
the fuck is Goop? How do you
G
spell
O
Goop?
O P. Gwyneth O Paltrow.
The website was right there. It was literally the second link.
I'm
So she
arguing with
sells skincare products and like snake oils and vagina crystals and a bunch of stuff, and they're ridiculously overpriced.
And they don't load
And-
on their page.
pointy heel boots for $1,035.
Yeah, she's got a short sleeve blouse for
I wish we had those pictures of those.
$325.
Let's go to wellness because that's where the vagina crystals go.
Wellness. It's the worst word in the world. I hate it. I hate the word wellness so much. It doesn't mean anything.
Oh, so there's all these fake articles on here.
So go to her products. Does she have a products or is it beauty?
Shop.
Her shop.
there we are.
Let's go to one of her T-shirts. There, she's got tops there.
Yeah, let's go top.
Let's take a look at her tops.
I'm a bit of a top myself.
Now they've probably been blessed by some
Xenu.
Xenu. What is that? Neck top for
Yeah, but this
$440.
this
for
is
a
just
black
regular
shirt.
clothing gouging. I
Yeah.
want the ridiculum.
Yeah, I want to see the crystals.
Okay. Well then, yeah, go to. I don't know. Is there a vagina category? I don't know.
Oh, it doesn't look like it.
It's probably in
anymore.
sleepwear.
Active wear.
So she's so
We hit both ends of the spectrum there with the vagina
so a couple years ago, this made the news rounds because she was promoting wellness crystals, right? Which is a lot of people believe in that shit, energy being in crystals or whatever. But she was literally selling one that is supposed to be kept in your vagina.
Yeah. She sells some that you're supposed to put in your water to, I don't know, de-alienate it or something. But
Yeah, I think that
I'm disappointed.
at the end of the day, that's just what it boils down to for me. Is a real disappointment in what we expect from the marketplace and what we'll put up with from the marketplace as a culture. Like it's just it's such a crystalline example of that. Speaking of,
Well, I mean, I'll concede the point that I didn't realize that there was this level of a comparable fucking.
I think this
of-
is all just the symptoms of
Yeah, it
failing
is.
school systems for decades and decades and decades. I think that
Ooh, mystical homework.
mystical homework.
The Kanye West stuff just really gets me because it's just so blatantly.
It's fucking bizarre.
You know what superpower you get from this crystal? It helps you feel more grounded.
Yeah.
That's the super. That's not a
Dude,
superpower.
mystical homework. Put black obsidian in your pillowcase on your nightstand, or fall asleep with it in your hand to help decompress and ground yourself at the end of the day.
Ground yourself. I don't think you can.
Is that a pun? Because you're holding a rock. Hold this rock. You'll feel more grounded. Dad jokes.
Oh. Pack your carnelian with your tampons. Menstruation is governed by the cycles of the moon, hence the phrase moon time, and the reason women used to sit in moon lodges and bleed together. When you feel PMS coming, hold the carnelian in your hand as much as you can. It is also helpful to lie down and put carnelian on your abdomen during that time of the month.
The
How do you
fact that
hold-
the phase of the moon is roughly a month is how they're saying that the moon affects
How do you
menstruation.
hold something as much as you can? Do you need to like touch it with all 10 fingers?
I think as
you gotta
long as you
remember
can.
You got to put it inside. That's how you hold it as much as you can.
These are the same carnelians that you packed into your tampons.
Oh, yes.
Gotta have. Just take a carnelian stone bath.
You know, I don't want to be defeatist, but this stuff makes money.
Yeah.
Like, I think people are making a moral choice to trick stupid people out of their money. I think you can blame them.
And again, my
But
problem
I
isn't
feel
with
like
these.
you gotta blame
surprised.
them.
Yeah, I'm just not surprised.
No, for
Here are the
me,
batch
it's
crystals.
it's not the fact.
With mint for scale, I guess.
It's not the fact that these people are selling it that really bothers me. It's the fact that like they sell because it's more. It's a reflection of who we are. You know.
People just,
Holistically.
yeah, I think they make their personal image and their opinions based off celebrities and sports and things like that, and then it becomes a part of who they are, and you can't question them about it because then they get offended because you're essentially attacking them, right? I'm sure
Right.
there's a lot of people that are willing to defend Goop till the cows come home.
I think that'd be the definition then of genius advertising, is that if you can sell a bullshit product, it's genius advertising.
So if you can create,
That's the only goal of advertising, is to sell
Yes,
a product.
to
So
make
if you
money.
can take a shitty product that no one in their right mind would ever buy
And make them
sell
buy it.
that's
In advertising, yeah, that's kind of cream of the crop. So makes
Fucking
sense.
pet rocks, man.
Well,
is tricking dunces really a genius thing though?
In advertising,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
have to
in
view it
that
from the
field.
narrow mind of like our only reason to be here and doing this thing
Is to make
is
money.
to get you to buy our product. And if we can do it with a really shitty product, we're really fucking good at our jobs.
Dude, okay. If you can turn rocks into money, you're pretty good at what you do.
Yeah, because that's what they're doing.
That or people are really fucking dumb.
Yeah.
well, that's
you capitalize on dumb.
It's a requirement. I mean, if you have really smart people, you can't typically, or if you manage to get a really smart person to buy your dumb thing, then that's
You're
even better.
genius, right? Then you're genius.
Yeah, maybe you
No,
got
you're
onto
more of a
something
genius.
there. Yeah.
Are you guys ready to take a break?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
break it.
Cool. Yeah, I got to change out my butt crystals. So
Remember to hold them in your hand.
Yeah, I got to go menstruate
in my
into
hand.
into
Shit.
If you're hearing this, that means you've taken some time out of your day to listen to the Balcony Time podcast. So we'd like to take some time out of the Balcony Time podcast to thank you for listening. As always, if you like what you're hearing, hate what you're hearing, or think what you're hearing is meh, we'd like to hear about it. Leave us a post on Facebook at facebook.com/balconytimepodcast or send us a tweet to @balconytimepc. Also, be sure to rate, review, rave, and rant about the Balcony Time podcast on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. Now, back out to the balcony.
So we got 9 days, 9-day countdown until Mandalorians, and we welcome our new overlords of Disney Plus into our lives.
So is that streaming service already set up? Can you be a Disney Plus member already? Oh, shit. Sorry,
Oops,
I'm
you
making
broke it.
Terrible.
It's not broken.
Amateur.
Oh,
As long as I don't touch anything.
I'm gonna
it's
go
not
ahead. I'm gonna
broken.
go ahead and turn you down so you can fix that real quick.
There you go.
I don't know what I did.
Oh, that wasn't you. That's Nick.
I'm not doing anything.
I don't think it's broken.
Well, put it back. Put that back down in the holder.
Technical
Oh,
difficulties.
this is raised
Yeah.
up. This needs to go into the hole more. There you go.
There it is.
Somebody loosen this shit on
Ka-chunk.
It's supposed to be loose. That way it can be mobile.
So we can spin it.
It was too mobile. It was too loose.
Yep,
It was
too
too loose.
Too loose. Too many vat
Like a
crystals.
hot dog down a hallway.
But yeah, I don't think you can sign up early yet for Disney Plus.
Okay.
Like it comes out.
So it's not launched yet.
No.
Okay. Is it being launched like the day the Mandalorian releases?
I'm pretty sure it's the same day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's like their flagship show, huh?
Well, and everything else.
Everything else
Yes.
in their vault.
Yeah.
Are they going to put everything from the vault out
I
on
believe
Disney
that's
Plus?
their plan.
Damn. Well, what's going to keep people buying fucking DVDs and Blu-ray releases every 10
I
years?
think that they finally learned that they don't need to do that shit anymore.
everybody just
Every
needs
15
to
years.
let go of physical media. Just let go.
For real.
No.
Hold on to it as
Do
hard
it.
as you can.
Grip
There's a
it
reason
tight
I buy
and then
books.
put it in your butt.
Books is one thing.
I can get books digitally.
Sure, you can. Yeah,
They're cheaper
absolutely.
and
But when's the last time
easier.
you went out and bought a physical copy of a game or a DVD?
I can't. They don't sell them.
They
Well,
do.
Yeah.
No, not like they used to.
You can
Used to
go
get this
down to
giant
GameStop.
box.
Probably for like another year.
You show me like a Destiny 2 CD, and I'll believe it.
They exist. I don't what.
I don't believe
What?
it.
Colin literally. That's the only way Colin buys games.
I know that there are some games that you cannot buy on CD because they don't put them on CD.
There are going to be some digital only, but even Fortnite, you can go and buy a Fortnite disc. That game was exclusively digital at first, but there was a demand for physical copies.
Does it come with a cloth map and a 200-page manual?
No, you have to buy collector's editions for that now.
Well, that used to be standard
Yeah.
edition.
Well, you know what? We don't
I
live
can't
back
buy
in
those
days that
anymore.
were better.
I do.
Yeah, you
Well,
used to
no,
get
you
a lot of
don't.
cool shit in a video game box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some
did.
things are good to have physical copies of. I
Yeah.
don't think that we need physical copies of movies.
Yeah.
These days, no. I mean, it's so much easier to send them and store them digitally.
Yeah.
Now, there is something to be said about having an actual copy of that file instead of just everything requiring on a streaming service. That just means because if you lose your internet access, you
Yeah.
no longer have access to any of that.
Tangentially related. I picked up Leviathan Wakes again and started plowing through that again because I sort of put it down for a minute. And in it, there's a passage where John Holden, he's talking about somebody having a physical copy of a book, and he remarks like internally, he's like, "Oh man, what a waste of mass for that amount of data." Like, right? like that was
spaceship,
that was his
important.
fucking. They weren't even on a ship; they were like on a station or something. But
Oh,
it was
okay.
like such an extravagant thing to have.
Yeah.
Sure. If he's a belter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, he's an earther. Holden's an earther
Cum belter. Yeah. Kind of.
out there. He's the guy who's on like the. He's the captain who sees the Donager explode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know who he is. Yeah,
But he's from Earth.
He is from Earth, but he's now a belt. Like
He's a belt sympathizer. Yeah,
He's an
for
expat.
sure.
Nick, did you
He's an
say
expert,
cum
yeah.
belter?
Yeah, like what's the phrase? Something come lately, something like janitor come engineer. There's a way to say like I was this and now I'm that.
Sure. Okay. Gotcha.
So he's a cum belter.
Yeah, I was like, so now he's a cum belter. Yeah.
Jenny
Earther
come
cum
lately.
belter.
Isn't that the phrase? Jenny come lately or
I
something
think it
like
was
that.
more. Yeah, I think those are
He's
two different
right.
phrases.
There is a way of saying.
There's
that
like
as
a street artist come celebrity. I don't know
Yeah.
the phrasing.
Oh,
but-
I think I know what you're talking about.
I get what you're saying, but
I'm
the
gonna
way you
Google
said it made no
actor
sense to
cum,
me at first.
and I don't think I get there.
Oh yeah.
we should just add cum belter to our Google search history and see what pops up.
Nope.
Well, I'm gonna do it.
No, I'm
That's
kidding.
like the least
I-
tainted thing.
I have,
That's right, yeah, that's
I
the
have looked up
safest
rule 34 on this podcast. I don't have any qualms.
What's Rule 34?
If it exists, there is porn.
Oh yeah. For
Speed
sure.
on grinder cum better or cum belter.
Belter.
So cum is the Latin word for with and is usually used to join two nouns, showing that something serves two purposes.
That's good to know.
So what is a speed on grinder cum
Alla
belter?
summa cum
This is
laude.
from grindermanufacturer.com. It's not going to be anything fun.
Click it. Maybe it uses semen for lube. I don't know.
I doubt it.
Well, it looks intense.
Apparently, a speed on grinder cum belter is a thing.
No, I think it's using the cum in the Latin sense that we just learned about it from.
Oh yeah, it's a grinder with belter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh, yeah,
It's a two-function thing.
Hmm. All right. Well, look at that.
Yeah.
Words.
Did you know that? Now you know.
Now I know.
All you people out there are now a little more enlightened from having
Summa
tuned in.
cum laude.
So don't ignore your cum belters. It's an important message from the Balcony Time podcast.
But yeah, I just thought that was like that stuck with me about like this movement of compressing like data to mass ratio. Like that's an interesting thing to think about.
It's highly inefficient.
What is?
Physical media.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It worries me how many things are becoming service-based. Like you pay for the right to
Yeah.
access it while you're giving a company money.
That being said, video games have been like that even when there was physical media. As soon as you had any kind of online component,
Video games as a service is relatively new. Let's be fair.
Yeah, I would say it's relatively
sure it is, yeah, absolutely. But
the
even
majority of our life, you can
You
buy
own
Yes.
your game.
and you own it.
agreed. But with the advent of the internet, that pretty much went the wayside.
As long as
I'd
I'm-
say
as long as I'm-
10 years ago.
Say, like, as long as it's beneficial to me, I will partake of those systems.
Yeah.
And it's extremely beneficial to me to partake of those systems because the
Yeah.
amount of content I get access to is nowhere near what it would be if I had to buy physical versions of all that content.
What about when they then shut down their servers and you don't get to play the game you paid for anymore?
What about when your
That's-
disc gets scratched?
That's the risk.
That's
that
the
I'm
risk
doing
of
to
any
have
type of
access to
game.
that entire library.
yeah.
I'm acknowledging that, like, I do not own this product. I'm paying to access the content you have, but in doing so, I get to experience that content when I normally wouldn't be able to. So if they take
What
that
do you mean
content away,
normally wouldn't be able to?
I can't afford to play all the games that I've played off of the Xbox Game Pass.
Oh, you're saying like using this new subscription it's super cheap.
And all the stuff I've watched on Netflix, I would never have been able to consume that content without either
Yeah.
pirating it, stealing
$15
it.
a month to watch like unlimited movies versus buying all those movies.
I find I pretty much spend
$25
$15 a month to rewatch The Office over and over.
pop. Yeah, same.
Well, then you would benefit from just buying a copy of all
Yeah.
the Office seasons,
For
which,
me-
as we know, is stupid expensive for an entire season of a show.
You can play one game at a time, and there's, I don't know. I definitely see the argument. The idea of not, I know that I don't own a lot like a Steam and whatnot. Steam account can be
Yeah.
kaputs. and
Anything
I don't
could
have the
happen.
games anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. There's still like Spiderweb Software makes the Avernum games, GeneForge, the new series. Like he runs a website. You can just buy the game from his site,
Sure.
and then you own it.
And if it was affordable
Yeah.
to just own the game, that would be the option
Mm-hmm.
I would still take. That way somebody couldn't take that away from me.
I guess for me, most of the games I bought recently, they're sub $20. Like
Yeah.
I haven't paid more than $20.
That's
for
the
a game
point.
In a
Is
long
like
time.
you get into those services like Steam and stuff, and there's just you can get such a deal on stuff
yeah.
that you wouldn't find anywhere else.
Yeah, I see sales all the time. Good old games. I'll buy a game for $4.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, anytime I can buy a game for $4,
now
I'm
that's
inclined
still
to
more
buy it just to
expensive
try
than
it
the
out.
service. If it's a service, is you said $1 a month during the promo period.
Yeah, I think it's up to like $10 or something, 15 if it's bundled with your Xbox Live Pass.
Yeah, if you have Xbox Live Ultimate or whatever
Yeah.
edition. Yeah.
And then that's subjective as well, because like if you can afford to just buy physical copies of everything, well then
Fuck it.
then you have permanent ownership of them. I'm willing to take the risk of someone taking it away from me because I don't have to pay as much per item.
I find myself, especially the older I get, adding a lot more weight to what I purchase based off the knowledge that I'm giving money to a burgeoning content creator.
Yeah, I do too.
Like a lot of things I kickstart, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to play this tabletop game with my players, but I really like what you've done, and you're trying to make a product here. And a lot of times my decision is made by the fact I'm like, you're a nobody, and this looks actually really good, and even if I'm not going to get to use it, I'll still pay for it. So
I do too.
yeah, I do
I
that
mean,
with games
yeah.
too.
Yeah, I've
Especially
been trying
when-
to pay attention to where my money goes a little bit more
Yeah.
the older I get. I mean, really, that's the only power you got.
I like being in a position to where I get to choose if my enjoyment of your product warrants me giving you more money than you initially asked for. It's a nice place to be. I could think about like playing a free game on a mobile device that costs me nothing to play. But if I'm really enjoying it, then I get the choice of like, do I want to give you money? And I think that's how the microtransaction stuff should be representative of, is that you get a free game and you can play it as much as you want. If you want to support the game because you're enjoying it, you can then give them money.
One flip side problem I found a lot, especially when it comes to mobile games, is a lot of games that I picked up, and had I not within like the first hour paid for stuff, the game is not enjoyable without paying for it. But the moment I paid for it and they unlocked content or got rid of ads or did this, that, and the other, now I really enjoy the game. Had I not paid for it, I wouldn't have found that out, which is a weird spot to be in because you kind of have to like gamble, you know, your first initial impressions of the game. I'm like, okay, I'm really liking this, but these ads are a bit annoying. And I look at what I get for a pay for it, adds a bunch of new levels. Like I'm going to lose interest really quickly if I don't pay for this now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem I run into kind of often.
Well, yeah, if you play a game and it hits a point where it's no longer fun to play if you haven't paid for it, that's a bad game, I think.
Because once you pay for it, like I'm trying to think, there was like an RPG I picked up and everything about it seemed great, but some of the content was locked behind the paywall, like extra classes and removal of ads, but it was like $2 for all that stuff. You could play as one class, and I played through like the first initial run. It was kind of like Slay the Spire, and I was like, that's cool. I have no drive to play this one character again, but if I pay these $2, there's not going to be any ads, and I get to try out 7 other classes. So had I not paid for that, I wouldn't have enjoyed the game after that. But then I did, and I ended up playing it for like 2 weeks. So it's kind of a weird spot to be in. And not all games are worthy of that. But
So I'll encounter games that I think look good and I'd like to play them, but they have an initial cost. There isn't a free-to-play option. There's no beta and whatnot. And I'm unwilling to give them my money to even try their game out, because even though I might very well, like if I enjoy the game, I'll pay the price. Like I think I bought $9 Minecraft on my phone at once, which I still regret to this day. But I enjoyed Minecraft. And I was like, okay, I'll give you the $9, but I'd already played Minecraft. So now I see a game, I'm like, this game looks pretty good. But there's too many people on the market that will do that shit to where like you won't be, the game will either suck or you'll hit some point to where if you're not making more microtransactions, you stall out in the game. And I'm unwilling to take that risk. So a lot of times I'll sideload. I'll try to find APKs and try the game out on its own before I go back into the Google Play library.
So
And
just
download
start
it.
adding-
APK. What's APK?
It's the file name for applications on the phone. Games
Oh, okay.
and
it's the
whatnot.
executable.
.apk.
Gotcha.
You should just bring back demos.
Demos are the shit.
I'm a big proponent in demos. I think
Yep.
we talked about that a couple episodes ago.
Did we?
Demos are
Yeah.
good. I think they're still fairly prevalent. I mean, a game like what you described where you can play it fully with only one
Yeah, I guess
character
it's
is kind
essentially
of
a demo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually probably better than a demo if you could play it all the way through
Yeah.
the game, because demo would end at some nondescript point.
Ancestors releases in 2020. Is that right?
On the consoles,
PC.
it's already out on the PC.
It's done.
It's been out on the PC for a while.
Yeah, but it's
That's what-
but it's early access. I think you
I
mean
meant like full game.
out.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
okay.
I don't know.
I'm perfectly
eager to
fine
play that game.
with paying for Disney Plus simply so that I can experience Mandalorians. I think
Yeah.
that because it's like $5 a month, and I'll probably share that key with friends so other people can enjoy it as well.
The Pirate Bay.
Yeah, like HBO is a subscription service that I continued to pay for a while, even though I did not feel like I was getting $15 a month out of it. I just kept it on there mainly because we wanted to watch a particular show, and then it wasn't that big of a deal just to keep it running for a while in case I got a hair and I wanted to go watch something.
Is there anything coming up from HBO that is worth resubscribing? I mean, maybe Westworld.
I stopped watching the one with John Goodman.
Yeah.
What was that called?
The
Gemstones.
Yeah.
The Righteous Gemstones.
Gemstones,
That
yeah.
was a good show, but I only watched like 3 episodes. I wouldn't mind seeing
Oh, they
that
have
first
Watchmen
season
on right now.
oh,
Oh,
yeah,
I just
that's
saw
right.
a trailer for that. That looked
That's
good.
right. I forgot about
Justin's really
Watchmen.
been liking it.
Yeah.
That looked really good.
I can't resubscribe for one show. Game of Thrones was its own thing.
Yeah, it was sort of a phenomenon.
Have you watched Crashing at all?
Well, I've seen some, yeah.
Oh, Crashing's good. That's the one with what's his face in it, right?
Yes, it has what's his face.
The older guy.
The what?
The older guy with the weathered face.
The older guy.
The blonde guy. He was in Welcome to Collinwood. He had the baby and the broken arm. What's his name?
I can't remember his name.
You guys know who I'm talking about, though, right? That is that show, right? Where it's like the family on the East Coast.
No.
Oh, okay. You're thinking about Shameless.
Shameless. That's what I was thinking
Oh.
of. What's Crashing then?
Crashing's the one with the comedian.
Oh, the funny guy, the Christian, Pete Holmes.
Pete Holmes.
Yes, Pete Holmes.
The comedian, the funny
the
guy.
funny guy. And hey,
No, that was a good show. Yeah.
So I'm thinking of Pete Holmes in my head, and you're just
I'm describing what's his face.
yeah.
yeah, because I had Pete Holmes in my head too, and I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
know
you're
about
not even
weathered.
close, dude. Like
Maybe kinda
maybe
sad.
blonde. Yeah.
Yeah, sad, not weathered. Yeah,
No, that dude's a baby face. I would have been really confused hearing what
Yeah.
he was saying.
Ancestors is Epic Game Store exclusive for a year.
so Nick won't be playing it until 2022.
No, I just pirated it.
Okay,
You don't like Epic Game Store?
Yeah, I'm not giving them my money.
Why? Because I want to go play that game,
Let
but
me
if I don't
count
need
the
to give them
ways.
my money, then I should.
If
not
we
give
went
them
into
my money.
discussion as to why I don't like Epic Game Store,
Why should
we've
I
already
not
talked
give them
about
my
this.
money?
Silicon Valley started up season 6.
did it really?
Because
They're 3 episodes.
their
Shit.
methods of garnering usership, I think, is damaging to longevity and the direction of games and consumers. I think it's
Do you have to
bad.
pay to use their launcher?
It's adding in exclusivity to the PC, wherein for the longest time PC games have never been exclusive. If you could play it on the PC, you could play it on the PC. Sure. And I don't want that to start, because we already see that on the consoles, where you have exclusive games for consoles, which is, now I could be wrong on this programming wise, but as far as I know, it's arbitrary. The only reason
Sometimes.
that games are exclusive to console is
To create
for
hype.
money reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's been plenty of games made for both consoles. Now, maybe the development team legitimately doesn't have the time or a bandwidth to make a game for multiple consoles, but I don't think that's the main reason.
So there is a good reason for plenty of them to be exclusives, like say God of War. God of War, you couldn't just port over to the Xbox with no issue.
It's because they didn't develop it for the Xbox.
Right,
But if
exactly,
they
yeah.
had, then it wouldn't be a
Sure.
problem.
Yeah, but the engine that they used was a like derivative from Unreal 4 that was specifically made to run perfectly on the PS4.
I think that's just a symptom of the fact that the engine was made exclusively.
Yeah.
For that, like I'm saying,
That,
if you
I'm,
just
I'm
rewind
giving you a
back-
reason. Yeah, that's
It would I think more resources would always be required to port to multiple systems, but
Yeah.
I think the cost of doing that would be negligible in the face of the extra money they'd be making.
Yeah.
by
There's
selling
games
them on those
that
other
come out on
consoles.
all consoles all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the majority of them, if I had to guess,
Yeah.
are
The most-
on all consoles.
Usually the most visually intense, like I'll use God of War for example again, is supremely optimized for the platform that it's launching on. So sometimes you get a loss of in fidelity by making it for multiple consoles
I don't think
simultaneously.
console players care.
Yeah, I
We
guess.
care. We just
well,
cry at night that we can't do anything about it.
well, you could do something about it. Fucking
Build a
I mean, you can't play God of War on the PC, unfortunately. So there's that.
Epic Games
You could if somebody tried hard enough.
took
Well,
in-
then they could port it to the Xbox. I'm just saying.
they're trying something interesting. Epic Games is trying to go up against Steam and
Okay.
a couple other things, and you cannot beat Steam with their own game, so they had to do something out of the box.
And that was just make a cool game and say you can't have it.
It
yet.
was to make a platform and have enough capital to buy out the rights to sell these games for an X amount of time, except for, I guess, like the Microsoft Game Store seems to be some kind of exclusion to this.
Yeah, 'cause Outer Worlds is on
Ancestors
Game Pass.
is also on the Game Pass.
Okay,
apparently.
interesting.
Oh, really?
At least that's what I just read. I could be wrong.
Interesting. I might
But
try it out then.
Their storefront, essentially their version of Steam, for the majority of the time that I was aware of it, was utter garbage. It was a dumpster fire. Their customer service was a dumpster fire, and
If you were going in to get like one game and one game only,
from what
would that be an issue from Epic, from their storefront?
there's
I really want
no-
to play Ancestors.
For me, again, it just comes down to there's no reason for me to go to these lengths to play a specific game because there's so many good games out there. Like
He
if
only
you're going
plays
to put
them
up
for
a
5 hours.
yeah,
What?
Or he only plays them for 5
I
hours.
try-
That's true.
I try a game until
that
I
game looks
find
really
out.
fucking cool though.
yeah. Once I get the novelness out of a game and I see what they've tried and I understand what they're doing, I lose interest.
I have that problem too. I
Yeah.
rarely finish a game.
I think
but
that's why
I like playing
probably
them.
not going to pick up Outer Worlds. It's like, this is a really solid game, but it's literally like they're trying to cook a recipe and they took all these ingredients from Fallout and Skyrim, Borderlands, BioShock, and then didn't cook it. There's like nothing new.
Just let it sit in the pot.
There's nothing new in it. There's nothing novel.
Yeah.
It's like I've played all these games before. Now you put them into one game. That's really cool. It's a solid game. I give it like 7, 8 out of 10. I don't know.
I would not have purchased Outer Worlds. The only reason I'm playing it at all is because it's on the Game Pass. At this point I've paid $8 for like 8 hours I've gotten out of it, so I don't feel
I think
bad about
if you
it.
like Fallout, Skyrim, Borderlands, you should try it.
Well,
Some people like Colin and Brian are going to fucking love that game.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make it bad or anything. They
Yeah.
just really enjoy that style of game, and it's more of the same content.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that I would be upset if I had purchased the game. I'm very pleasantly surprised not having had to. So,
There was
because
this-
it's not good enough that I wanted to pay $60 and own permanently.
There's this game I played on Xbox Gold, the free whatever monthly thing back in the day called Massive Chalice, and I think it was a Take-Two or Double Fine game.
I hope it's filled with shrimp cocktail.
It's this kind of interesting fantasy game, kind of XCOM style combat, and it was neat that you have like lineages, and I was like, my interest was peaked, and I was like, this is pretty cool, and it's waning, and then I got to this level where I was fighting these banshees, and the whole idea of the game is that you have these families, and your heroes get old and they die, and this banshee came up and hit one of my good heroes, and he aged 30 years. Didn't hurt his hit points, didn't cause damage, just made him old. And that idea fascinated the fuck out of me, that like, oh shit, like he's not going to be around the next generation to help against the next wave of monsters. And suddenly I like resurged my interest in the game. I played it for another 10 hours. And it was just things like that. I've never seen like, what's the last game you can think of where a monster made your character age?
Age Ray.
Yeah, it's just a neat idea. I love that kind of stuff. So
I know I've played one recently.
just can't think
With
of it.
an Age Ray?
Yeah, I can't think of it. Not an age ray, but aged a character.
Yeah, just the fact that age was such an important mechanic in that game
Yeah.
was a novel concept.
That's
And most
neat.
of this, I like to play games to get ideas for my tabletop games. Like that's a lot of the reason I play games nowadays is for new lore and content and ideas. So
Yeah. It's neat.
new topic.
Your mom.
My mom.
So I've picked up Leviathan Wakes again. Does anybody know when the new season of The Expanse is supposed to hit?
Soon. We were talking about the other night,
Oh,
December,
okay.
I think.
I have no idea.
Man, that
wrong?
book is so good.
I'm 7.
I haven't
books
read
in.
him yet. I let him.
I know
let you
that
borrow
book. I know you let me borrow, and
Yeah.
that fucking spine was
And for
brand
our
new.
audience, this is the Expanse show, the books they were based
Right,
off of.
Leviathan Wakes is the first book, and I read like the first 100 pages or so, put it down for a while, and I recently like picked it back up because I had some time off, and I've just been plowing through it. Man, I love the way that's written.
December 13th.
For the new Expanse.
Okay.
Yeah, season 4 of The Expanse.
And the show does the books justice.
Yeah, 100%.
From what I've seen so far, and from what I've read, it nails the feel. It nails the tone. That's for sure.
If you haven't seen The Expanse and you're interested in the show,
It's a cool show.
watch the first 4 episodes. Don't quit like 2-3 episodes in, because they complete an arc, and you'll know by then whether you love it or you hate it.
That's why I don't care about it, is because I've only made it to episode 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You ruined it.
What I've noticed is the pacing in the book is a lot slower than the shows, but that's just
Pretty
pretty
normal.
standard. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to keep people engaged when it comes to TV.
Yeah. I really like the sense of
I think the
Detective
pace is
Miller
there.
that I get from the book versus in the show.
Yeah.
Because you've seen the show, right?
I've seen the show.
He's older in the book, you can tell.
Yeah, there's this, I just read this part where he like, shit's going off on Sirius Station, and he like realizes he's the butt of the joke in the station, and you never really get that sense in the show, but like, he's the fucking washed up guy in this fucking police force, and he's the shit assignment. Like when people are assigned to be his partner, that's the shit assignment, because nobody really wants to be his partner. And I thought that just did a lot for his character, knowing how washed up he is versus seeing him sort of being like this almost like cool, aloof character on the show, you
Yeah.
know?
I think they did a really good job, because you have this problem with any fiction story, is you have to get your viewer, reader, or watcher to know enough about your world to be able to understand the things you're talking about. And you can just info dump them and be bad, or you can find a better way to doing it. And by wrapping in this murder mystery whodunit in that first season, and then everything else was kind of like addressing for it.
Right.
They did a really good job of showing, not telling, and then introducing you to this world while the plot still had you kind of entangled, and you just learn things by secondary hand smoke. I
Exactly.
guess.
No, there's actually a really cool interview in the back of the book. When I give it back to you, you should read this with the author. And one of the questions asked to the author is, is this a hard sci-fi book? And he's like, no. This is just a cool, essentially this is a cool story against an epic backdrop. Yeah. As far as like how the tech works and shit like that, we don't need to get super into it.
Which is, I appreciate that because it honestly is decently hard. There's like, for example, there's semi-hard. It's turgid.
Half chub.
Right? There's a scene in the show where they dump out, or I think one of the characters picks up sand or dust and drops it, and it corkscrews when it falls. It's due to the Coriolis effect of them being on a spinning asteroid. Right? It's little things like that don't need to be there that they put in there to show you, we got a little bit of hard sci-fi in here. This isn't Star Wars.
I would imagine as far as that goes, they did probably more research for the show to make that show up visually more, as opposed to letting like the reader fill in the blanks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like, one of the questions was like, how's the Epstein drive work efficiently? That was his answer in this fucking interview.
Yeah. Don't want to explain warp speed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm thinking through the 7 books, and they never really get super into any sort of.
So you've read them?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm really enjoying that
current
shit.
with them. And there's a time I took a break in between them because the politics that's involved can be dry.
Sure.
If you're not really into.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into that too much yet. Right now, just everything's being set up in this book, it seems like.
And it's not hard to come back. It was just I think I binge listened to the first 4.
Sure.
And a big killer for me was my narrator was less good than some of my other narrators that I listened to. And it's hard to listen to 160 hours of the same one-person guy just kind of like reading you a fairly dry sci-fi series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, through those books, there's never like deep explanation of the technological workings. It's just,
and it's not necessarily this.
It's not part of the story. That's not what the story is about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the world they live in.
Yeah.
I don't end up explaining to anybody else how the world works as I'm explaining my life, so that makes a lot of sense.
The whole series is talking about the concept of like a new minority that exists from these belters and stuff living out on the edge of the galaxy or solar system.
And then you've got like a cool, like almost detective noir feel going throughout the thing when you're following Miller. He's got that noir feeling to it.
Yeah. The downside is that doesn't stick around.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. Well, I mean, from the show, Miller's X'd out pretty quick. Like
Spoilers.
he gets. Oh yeah, sorry. Spoilers.
I didn't spoil anything. I just said that the noir film.
Spoilers. Miller gets fucking X'd out early on in the series.
If it's early on in the series, then that started 5 years ago.
Yeah,
it is what it is. It's not brand new content.
Yeah.
But so as soon as he's out of the picture, that tone's gone because he was driving.
He is that character. Like you,
and it was missed. Miller was missed. Like even in reading the books and stuff like that,
there's a hole there.
I want him more.
He's a great character. Yeah, it's so much fun to read.
And any more would get into much deeper spoilers, so I will just leave it at that.
Well, speaking of like sci-fi books, I'm reading with my niece, my 12-year-old. With my 12-year-old niece, I'm reading War of the Worlds.
Ooh.
Okay, right? Because she needs to read more, right? And I was like, all right, well, let's read this. It's not a picture book. I'll read it out loud to you. And I've never read the book before. But it's fun reading it to her because this thing was written in like the late 1800s,
Mm-hmm.
And she's like at an age and in an environment where she doesn't have a lot of historical context, right? Like she doesn't put
How old is she?
She's 12,
Okay.
13, yeah. She doesn't history's just not like in her purview, right? So she doesn't put her place in that context. And so reading this thing, there are passages where it's like, oh, all these bikes were packed up. And I was like, why all those bikes were packed up? There were no fucking cars. And she's like, oh, yeah, no cars, right? And even just like describing the size of things. you know, we'll get to an end of a chapter and I'll be like, did you understand everything you read or that we read? And she'll give me a little synopsis or whatever. And so the first thing is like the cylinder that crash lands, this huge cylinder, and they describe it as a 30-meter circumference or whatever. And I was like, so what do you think is in there? And she's like, oh, some little thing or something. And I was like, little thing? Do you know how big 30 meters is? Do you know what a circumference is? And so we had to talk about that. And I was like, this is like, the top of this thing is the big of the house that you're living in right now, you know? Like, it's huge. She's like, oh. And so it's like really fun to see those connections being made between like this archaic description of the future and somebody who's like living in the future.
I love that archaic description of the future.
Yeah.
The problem I have reading to my friends' daughters is that they fucking fall asleep. They get so engaged, they love it, and then
you gotta do little
within
snippets.
10 minutes, they're out. And it's like,
we do a chapter or two at a time.
I know. I'd introduced one of them to Harry Potter, and I finished the first chapter and didn't realize they had fallen asleep like half an hour ago. Just reading to myself. But yeah,
it is fun reading out loud to kids, though.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's great. Are you reading at bedtime?
Yeah.
Well,
so that's the problem.
Yeah.
You gotta read with your kids during the day.
Yep.
Yeah, they want to watch TikTok during the day.
Yeah, isn't that how it goes?
No, my niece is so sweet because I'll like go over to my brother's place and I'll be like, all right, you ready to read? And she'll be like into something like on the screen, you know. She'll be like, okay, like she'll summon the willingness to go read with me. You know what I mean? Like at first she's not really into it, I can tell, but then by the time we're out like in the fucking lawn reading, and she's like into it. Yeah.
As most kids probably would be once
Exactly.
they realize that their brains work and they don't have to be forced
Exactly.
fucking media 24/7.
Yeah.
You have an imagination.
What?
Right. Well, and what's really fun is seeing like this older language and her being able to interpret it with the context, because she doesn't know what the fucking words mean,
right?
But she can interpret the context, and so that's been something that we've been talking about more and more lately.
I think the proudest I've been the last couple of months. My friend's daughter, who's also 12, she's started writing her own story.
Oh, fun!
And it's, you know, she stops for like a month at a time, but we'd gotten talking, and usually at bedtime I don't read to them. We tell stories in the Infinite Forest, which is just my way of trying to get them to play tabletop games. So I'll just like start telling a story, and then I ask them questions. I'm like, what does that character do? What did he find, right? And I came over the other day, and she'd drawn a map of the forest, and I almost exploded. I was like, that's so cool.
Dude,
I'm so glad you're doing this.
I remember drawing.
Yeah,
unprovoked drawing, you know, coloring in the desert.
I was thinking about the thing we were doing the other day.
I was
Cool.
like, I'm so excited.
I remember drawing maps for fun.
I still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. I lost my imagination.
I sit there and just practice mountains. They don't really get anywhere, but
yeah.
I love drawing maps.
Consummate V's.
Consummate V's, dude.
Dragon Mountains. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next topic.
Next topic. I don't have any more.
I don't have any more.
No more
Yeah.
topics?
We're free balling it.
Yeah.
I've been free balling for days, son. I don't understand.
Yeah, I
what
really
it
got to
is.
do laundry.
Yeah. Oh shit. So do I. Fuck. Thanks for the reminder.
Someone needs to invent clothes that don't need to be laundered.
Well, somebody needs to invent skin. that
It's
doesn't-
called skin. Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't.
Clothes implies
Get
you can
gross.
take it off.
I guess we got to wash our skin too, probably.
Yeah.
Probably should.
All of these things get gross.
Yeah.
So fix our skin, and then we don't have to wear clothes.
I'm just going to wrap myself in plastic. Oh, man.
Gross.
So I watched a fucking Netflix horror movie because, you know, it's Halloween season and I'm always looking for horror movies. Did you guys see Eli?
No.
You just
Okay.
asked this group if we watched any
I
Netflix
know.
horror movies. Get out of here.
Shut up. All right. So I know you guys haven't seen Eli.
I've seen the book of Eli.
No, it's different. So it's this little boy who is he's like a bubble boy. He's allergic to everything. And so his parents take him to this creepy house where this doctor has a clinic that she helps bubble boys in. And there's been a couple of them
Makes sense.
that have been before. The air is all sterilized so he can come out of the bubble and live in this house, but they're doing like this gene therapy to help him out. And there's like some ghosts that are talking to him throughout the movie, and then you come to find out that like, and you only find this out in like the last 20 minutes, is that this kid is like the spawn of Satan, and his wife was or his mom was barren and made a deal with the devil, so the devil fucked her and had like some Satan progeny, and so really this kid isn't allergic to shit. They've been suppressing his like demonic powers. And so in the last 20 minutes, all this shit hits the fan and the kids being all like devil crazy. And I'm like, why wasn't the rest of the movie this movie? Like, why did it take us this long
Dude,
to figure this out?
I don't know,
Because
man.
all of a sudden the movie got good after
Yeah.
being shit for an hour and a half.
Shamalama ding dong. problem.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that the first half of the movie was bad, but there was the Lost Planet, one of the early Xbox titles. I love
that
the
game?
Yeah, I
The giant
love the
bugs?
fucking transition that took. Yeah.
Oh,
you're,
yeah.
you're a single dude. I mean, mechs exist. Like you can wield their weapons, or occasionally there's a working mech that you can fight these giant, bug creatures with. But like the last 15% of this game turns into like Gundam, where you're flying around in space and like
laser chainsaws.
yeah,
and-
fighting the Federation, and it's like, what the fuck happened to this game? Like, such a weird turn of events. It went from like solo dude out in the frozen tundra fighting bugs to like Starship Troopers.
Dude,
instantly.
this is sort of a non sequitur here, but those sort of like hard changes always remind me of that song by Styx, the "Come Sail Away" song.
Oh yeah,
Because like at first you're like, this song is about angels, and then all of a sudden it's about aliens.
yeah.
And you're like, I thought that they were angels, but then they fucking had UFOs and they were taking
Yeah.
people on their UFOs, and you're like, where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah.
Out of the blue.
That's
You're
cool,
talking
man.
about like "Come Sail Away,"
Yeah.
"Come Sail Away."
Yeah, it's a
Sail
song
Away
about
with Me.
aliens.
I didn't know it was about
Yeah.
angels or aliens,
Dude.
Thought it was about a dude
No.
sailing
It's
away
just
on a-
aliens.
No,
Yeah.
dude, there's a verse where he goes, I thought that they were angels, but to my surprise, they climbed aboard their starships and headed for the skies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, I guess we're fucking being abducted all of a sudden.
I don't think I ever actually like processed those lyrics.
It's a trip, man.
Because I knew 'em.
Listen
I
to the
sung
song,
the
man.
lyrics all the
It's
time.
weird. It's just like all of a sudden it hits and you're like, this is surreal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I love that era of music, man.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Growing up during those times would have been so cool just to have those posters on my wall. Like,
You can still have those
still have
posters
that's
on your
that's
wall.
true. I could, but instead I keep them barren because I live like a caveman.
Yeah.
I hate blank walls.
Why? They're so clean.
Terrible.
They're so clean.
They're a mental prison. Stuck in a white room. Drives me batty. I hate it.
I'm not bothered by it at all.
Like,
I do have
Depends
art
the
on my
context
walls, to
of
be
the-
fair now.
The room.
Unless
I
it's like a
guess.
DMV or a hospital room, walls shouldn't be white.
See, my room is my sanctuary. Shit on my walls are not, so I
Yeah.
feel good in there at all times, unless I feel bad.
Caveat.
But it's a safe place to feel bad. Well, it's about time to wrap up. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm
Are they
sleepy.
ready? Are you out there ready for us to end? They're not ready for us to
Who
end.
wants to watch me sleep?
You know they do.
No, I was
chart-
talking to you guys.
Let's
All right.
Let's charge
All right, everybody
Yeah.
into Russ's room.
$200 an hour.
Let's get that up on our
Watch us
Patreon,
sleep.
guys.
Yeah, if you support our Patreon account, that gives you access to our sleep webcam of Russ.
Sleep cams.
Sleep
It's not a
cams.
sleep cam. You can come over and watch me sleep
That's the $5,000
for 1 hour.
Oh,
Educate your mind. Don't let the brain cells die. Come on, it's balcony time.